Thank you, Jeff. That was whetting the appetite for the economics group. I've got the job of trying to whet your appetite for the politics group tomorrow morning. And I want to preface my remarks by saying that I agree very much with what was said earlier today, that the root of our current problem is not political, it is spiritual. And politics cannot solve all the problems. And we do need to pray more, and we do need to have more Christians and more mobilized Christians. But there is also a problem in politics that needs to be fixed. And the organisation care that gives me my day job has been preaching this particular line now for many years, that Christians need to be engaged in the world of politics and in public life in general. For too long we have been inward looking. We felt that this was a dirty world we should leave to others to get involved in, and we should keep ourselves clean and pure and just concentrate on preaching the gospel. We don't believe that is the whole counsel of God. We do encourage engagement. Anyway, till what is going to happen tomorrow morning and the issues that we're likely to cover, I've chosen to hang what I'm going to say on the three cardinal Christian virtues from 1 Corinthians 13, faith, hope and charity. But I'm putting them in a different order. Starting with charity, I very much agree with what was said by Thomas Schiermarker earlier, that human rights are in fact Christianity's gift to the world. And we need to reclaim them and use them in the way they were originally intended to be used back in the 1940s and 50s when the founding human rights documents were written. Thomas will be speaking more about this and about his latest book on this subject. Human rights incorporate foundational Christian thinking. We are all equal, we are all unique, made in the image and likeness of God, again, as was said earlier on today. And we need to think how we can apply this to the situation that we find ourselves in the 21st century. Are the solutions of the past still adequate? Are there ways that we need to move that are different to what has gone before? The gift of human rights. Secondly, the gift of faith. Faith is very important to us as Christians. But we're not the only ones who have faith, if you want to use the word in inverted commas. Everyone that I come up against in the political world in Brussels has some sort of faith, some sort of ideology they are living by. What has changed, which is making it more difficult in some parts of Europe to apply our faith to the world of public life? And again, I identify very much with what was said earlier about the problem of the church and Christians losing confidence in our Christian values and in our Christian ethic and no longer applying them. Sunday should be a gift that we are giving for all, to get one day off in seven, to be with your family. And yet we seem to be no longer standing up for it, or at least many of us. As well as Thomas Schiermarker tomorrow, Dave Landrum from the UK Evangelical Alliance, formerly forming the Secretariat for the Christians in Parliament group in the UK Parliament, will be talking about an exercise, an interesting exercise that's recently been going on in the UK, of a public inquiry initiated by Parliament with taking evidence from people within society, organisations and individuals who feel that their role as Christians, their ability to live in all conscience a Christian lifestyle and to proclaim their values, has somehow been compromised by trends in our society and in our laws, and what we need to do to put that right. But of course, if we do believe in universal human rights, it's not a one-way street. It's not just saying we want particular rights for ourselves to support our faith, to have a sort of predominant role in society. Human rights are reciprocal. If we want to uphold the universal rights of religion, freedom of religion, freedom to change religion, freedom of thought and conscience. That has to apply to everyone, not just to us. And again, we'll be thinking about ways in which we as Christians and as evangelical Christians can support the rights of others as well as our own. Charity, faith, and hope. Again, something referred to earlier. I very much believe that the game is not over. If you think the game is over, you're not looking in the right place or in the right direction. It may feel from time to time as if the game is over in what I'm afraid I sometimes characterize as tired, old Western Europe. We've experienced church design, church decline, where even where we have Christian politicians, they're so often not willing to put their heads above the parapet, and they live in this climate of fear. But fortunately, since 2004, we also have Christian politicians from countries who come from a different past and a different experience. And I was so encouraged that we had Tuna Callum setting the tone at the beginning of our session today. Countries where Christian faith and Christian conscience were the bedrock of liberty being maintained within the heart, even if it had been denied outside, and the foundation on which the movements which eventually brought liberation east of Vienna were based. For too long, we have been ground down by a liberal intellectualism in the West, and we have been afraid to respond. Our brethren and sisters from the East show us a different way, where Christianity has brought liberation. It is something to be celebrated, not something to be hidden away from and to be fearful of promoting. Another problem we've had in the West has been our divisions. 10 years ago, I came to Brussels, and I found a number of different disparate groups, both within Brussels and even more across the different states of Europe, all avowedly promoting the same ends of Christian values in areas like life and family and home and marriage and so on, but not always having very much to do with each other, not always working together, not even knowing what each other were doing. Now, as was explained by Jeff earlier, as well as working for CARE as their representative in Brussels, I'm also chairman of this organisation called the European Christian Political Foundation. When we met in Budapest a year ago, those of us who were there then and have come again, this organisation only existed on paper. It hadn't actually done anything or spent anything. But it exists because Christians had a vision. Back in 2002, at Lake in Hungary, the European Christian Political Movement was formed, a coming together of Christian politicians from different countries to try and network and see how they could work together to promote Christian values in European politics. That matured into becoming a registered European political party, and because of the regulations adopted by the European Parliament to encourage a European demos and a European way of political thinking, they were able to register as a European political party and therefore receive funding as a European political party from the European Parliament. Once that was done, the regulations also allow that every European political party can have a European political foundation. So a group of us got together to create this legal entity, the European Christian Political Foundation, and put in a bid, which was successful both to register it and to get funding. General Booth of the Salvation Army famously said years ago, "Why should the devil have all the best tunes?" when people criticized him for setting Christian songs to music hall tunes. Well, we believe, why should the devil have all the best funding? If there's European funding going, some of it should come the way of those of us who believe in the foundational values of the European Union, the values of Schumacher and Adenauer and de Gasperi, and the importance of human dignity and of Christian value and of foundational human rights. So we are using that money to sponsor conferences and seminars like today. We're using that money to get books written and books translated. The Jubilee papers of the Jubilee Centre are gradually being translated into a range of European languages. And as has already been mentioned, we have the book After Capitalism, of which 40 copies will be coming tomorrow. And also there is a book over there, Fair Taxation of Families. These are the first two publications that we've been able to make possible with the funding that we have received. Networking together. The political foundations of the other parties are very much the politicians setting up people who will give them the answers that they want to hear, and very much keeping control of the group that they set up as their foundation. The ECPF has specifically been set up as a looser framework, and we invite any NGOs, think tanks, Christian groups and Christian individuals who want to further think, research, come up with policies that promote a Christian Europe to really join with us. We've a research project ongoing on European values. You may remember, those of you who were here last week in Budapest, that Sander Leitvila set the tone and shared the first draft paper. That project is being concluded in June, when he will be giving his final paper, which sets an elaboration of the foundational values of Europe, and just the teeny-weeny beginnings of an application, which we will then go on to spell out in specific policy papers on areas like family and economy. I see I'm being moved towards, because my time must be running out. I must just finish by saying he will be giving that talk on the 7th of June. You will find this bit of paper on the table at the side in Brussels, in the European Parliament. So unfortunately you have to register early so we can get you through security. But if you can come, please do come. As well as his talk, there are a series of talks on different approaches to economics. You can hear Michael again, also Philip Bond, Thomas Sandleck, Luigino Bruni, Peter Esther, and others. On the 7th of June, if you can put in your diary, we'd love to see you in Brussels at the first anniversary of our being formed.
Are there any immediate questions concerning tomorrow's session? For clarity, if you want to know, to be involved, from David? No? All right. Thank you, David. Thank you. Before we